Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode. I've made the decision that I was wrong last week and it was my turn to do the intro, so here we are. This week we talk a bit about a study that Dr Layne Norton has posted about how much of a surplus you need or how much of a deficit you need and sort of what the science and essentially math is around that. Talk about our own journeys, work out sort of where we're at calorie-wise, how correct we were in terms of the calorie calculator and what we sort of are doing in a minute in our own surplus, the struggles around that, and how you can simplify what you're doing with nutrition to make sure you have success over the long term. Enjoy. You know that there has had to have been some sacrifice, whether it's time or nutrition or whatever it is.
Recording of myself talking about having a relationship with my chest.
I'm Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Health Podcast. Yo, welcome back, everybody. I'm actually not sure what episode this is going to be because I'm waiting on Ryan sorting the other episode out. So hopefully by this stage you will know. But here we are, Dave and I, back in action. What's up, Dave?
You saying Ryan is slacking?
No, that's not what I'm saying. At all.
Kind of sound like you're
no. I'm just not putting the money under any additional pressure. So if it's ready, it's ready. If it's not, then we'll just do them in a slightly different order. It's fine.
Fair enough. All right, Ryan.
Are you saying that Ryan's slacking?
Ryan's definitely not slacking for me. He got all my stuff done in time, but I don't know. Like you've been kind of complaining a little bit lately. So
no.
Just teasing.
Although I did seriously piss him off yesterday. I sent him a picture. So obviously when we went to New York, he was banging on about going to Ichiran for ramen. Like, ever since I've known him, he must have mentioned this place 100 times to me. So we went. So yesterday I sent him a picture of me. I made like a bowl of like instant noodles and cut up a chicken breast on top. And I was like, just like Ichiran. It's like authentic. There's only like, I think there's only 2 places outside of Japan where you can actually get it. One of them's in New York and obviously my house because I made it, nailed it.
That's
so
awesome.
The last message he sent to me was, don't even speak to me. So fuck him. I'm not even talking to him.
You're
anyway,
dead to me.
Yeah. Anyway, happy Friday, dude. What's going on?
Happy Friday. Well, it's been a busy week. I got to hang out with Diamond Dallas Page, the WWE wrestler, and WCW, WWF, all kind of combined. But that was a crazy story.
How was that?
Right. Yeah. How was it partying with Diamond Dallas Page? But I was doing an event in New York for a friend, and there was a bunch of CISOs and everything else. And, he had asked, like what my speaker fee was and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, if I'm talking cybersecurity to a lot of folks, and I'm helping out, I don't charge. Like, why don't I just cover my flight and hotel? And he happens to be kind of in the entertainment/media business. And so he wanted to do something special for me as a thank you for coming out and speaking. And he knew I was a huge rock fan and wrestling fan. And I was making jokes all the time about, wrestling and stuff like that. And so I'm sitting there talking to a bunch of CISOs about, ransomware and things like that. And all of a sudden, Diamond Dallas Page walks in with the Brony belt, the Brahma belt. And he's like, hey, where's Dave Kennedy at? I need to give him this belt. And I was like, what? Like, what? I don't get flustered, but my mind shut down. Like, all reality went out of the water. I was like transported to a parallel dimension where I couldn't speak. My face got beat red. And I was like, why does Diamond Dallas Page want to talk to me? Like, how does DDP know who I am? And I started freaking out, man. I couldn't talk. I'm like, and he starts laughing. And what's incredible about him? And he said he'd be interested possibly doing the podcast, I think, which would be really cool. And what he said that I really was really cool. First of all, he's 67 years old. He looks like he's my age. Like, he looks like he's 40. He's in incredible shape. The dude doesn't lift a single ounce of weights. Obviously, he was a meathead. He was some of the biggest of the biggest. You look at the wrestlers in the 90s, they were the biggest, most massive folks. He's big, but he looks, extremely physically fit. I mean, wore a tight shirt. You can see his abs popping through. He's got, muscular frame, V-taper. And he came out with this DDP yoga stuff. And I didn't realize how big it was, but like, when I started talking about meeting DDP, he's like, I got response after response after response of people saying DDP yoga changed my life. Absolutely incredible. I'm able to move now. And he got me into his app and gave me a membership. And he said, dude, just try it out. And I'll tell you, I went through a couple of the tutorials just to like look at it. And what he said was, most of the wrestlers my age, they can't move their arms, especially their shoulders, around like this. I mean, they've just destroyed their bodies. He's like, I'm 67 and I got full range of motion, perfectly fit. And he's like, it's all due to yoga. So all he does strictly is yoga. And he has had incredible success along with a lot of people. So, but it was awesome. I literally got to hang out with them for a few hours. We've been text messaging back and forth. I'm actually flying out to Atlanta to hopefully you as well to go work out with him and hang out with DDP, which is insane to me. Talking
Hold
to
on,
him,
are you going to do yoga or are you going to lift?
I'm going to yoga. We're doing yoga.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just him and I doing yoga, and he's gonna record and everything and interview, and I think it's gonna be pretty crazy. I'm actually interested in it because yoga from a range of motion perspective. There's also some. I don't know if you've ever done yoga before. I never have.
Yes, yeah. So I've done Bikram yoga, which is like you do it in a heated room, which is a different level altogether. It did actually to help with my shoulder whenever I injured my shoulder, and it genuinely did really help. I did it for about 12 weeks. So yes, I have done yoga, but that was probably about 7 years ago.
The thing that I like about at least listening to what yoga is about is it's not just physical type of exercise, right? It's also like spiritual, mind, kind of spending time on yourself and reflecting. When I'm lifting, I'm like in zone, trying to lift as heavy as possible. This is more of meditative, tranquil, those types of things. So, that's a whole area I think of my mind that I've never explored. I'm always like on the move, go, lift as heavy as I can, screaming, I don't relax, I guess is the best way of saying it. So I'm curious to see how this impacts me and hey, listen, I'm willing to give anything a shot. I did cold plunging, give it a shot. Doesn't mean I'm gonna do it forever, but yoga might be a new routine that I incorporate.
So if we say that the gym is being completely emptied and it's now a yoga studio, then you've gone all in.
I don't think you have to worry about that. I don't think you have to worry about that. But funny story though. So I bring this. So I get done, hanging out with DDP and everything, and his wife was there, Paige, who's super nice, and she's like jacked as hell too, and all she does is yoga. And he gives me the belt. So I have this 40-pound massive WWE belt that I have no idea how to get it home. It doesn't fit in my suitcase. So I'm literally carrying it through the airport like I'm a WWE champion, walking through LaGuardia with this, massive freaking WWE belt. People are looking at me like, who the hell is this guy? He looks big. He's probably a wrestler. So they're like taking pictures of me and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm not a wrestler. I have nothing to do with this,
Have you worn it every day since? So
it's turned into my PR belt.
Okay.
The kids love it. So like whenever they do new PR, they get to take a picture with the belt. But that's only when they do a PR. But tomorrow, I'm actually, because tomorrow's legs day, I'm going to use it for my deadlifts. So this podcast will come out after I post the picture, so it's going to be hilarious. You're going to see me deadlifting with the rock belt tomorrow. It's actually a really stiff belt, so it's going to work really well. So and that's going to be my new deadlift belt, I think.
So basically, DDP give you a new deadlift belt.
I got a new deadlift belt. It's going to be awesome. The thing is like, I mean, it's solid metal, like leather. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful belt, and why not get some use out of it, right? I'm going to hang it up on the wall. It's going to have like its own little mount. I'm going to get some neon lights that say PR belt on and everything. It's going to be great.
What a time to be alive, eh?
What a time to be alive. I got to party at DDP this week, so
Good. And how's your sessions been aside from that? You got lifting whenever you were away?
I did. Well, so it was. I lifted Tuesday morning. I flew out Tuesday afternoon to New York. I did the whole hanging out DDP thing Tuesday. Wednesday's my Orange Theory day. So I did Orange Theory, and then I did a lift in the afternoon in the hotel. It wasn't really great. And then flew out Wednesday night after dinner. So I had lunch with a customer, then had dinner with my CEO, and then I flew back. But one thing I'll tell you is that, we're at 3,500 calories, and we'll talk a little bit about one of the latest studies that just came out on, dirty bulking, percentages of bulk maintenance and deficits, because we did this last week, but there's some new studies that came out that Dr. Layne Norton went through that is really awesome. But I'll tell you, being on a bulk, I'm feeling so much fuller, so much more energy, so much explosiveness in the gym, and I can go for a lot longer in the gym with the different types of weights. So, being on a bulk is, I think, extremely important. And I think, if you're looking at building muscle, you need, and if you are able to control your appetite, which is the most important thing, and keep yourself within a framework, you really need to look at being in somewhat of a surplus to build ample muscle. And I like your approach, Ben, of when you first bring in new people, you'll bring in someone new and you'll take them through a cut phase to show them that it's possible to lose the weight, right? To get them comfortable with incorporating resistance training, but getting them comfortable with, hey, you can lose weight. Now let's start increasing calories. And yes, you're going to go up in weight a little bit. That's to be expected, but you need to be somewhat in a either maintenance or surplus to start to pack on muscle. And yes, there'll be a byproduct of fat. But at the end of the day, we have to be able to build muscle to get that physique we want to. Because if you just shred right now, if you've never lifted a weight in your life and you just shred, you're going to be skinny fat, right? There's nothing you can do about that. You're not going to be, looking like you have a six pack with massive muscles. You just don't have it yet. You have to build it. So we'll talk about that, but I'm feeling good with 3,500 calories. The workout routines have been solid. Today I just got done doing push. So loving the full body pushes. My legs feel like jello. My shoulders I can't raise above my head basically. So I did some burner sets today. We talked about this in a podcast, but they did a study on tricep pull downs with rope tricep pull downs, and also the overhead tricep extensions. And they showed that overhead tricep extensions built 40% more muscle mass than rope extensions did. And so, I've been incorporating those a ton to failure in my workout routines, both with dumbbells and with rope. Rope I do to failure, dumbbells I do overhead until, I do super heavy, with them. I think I, do hundreds and then, 110s and 120s overhead until I hit, until I can't hit anymore. I'm dropping the dumbbells on my feet. And then I do ropes to burn them out. And then I do the cross cable extensions with the tonals on eccentric mode. And man, I'll notice that I'll just start cramping up just in the middle of the day. My tricep would be like, stop it, leave me alone, don't touch me. I don't want to be touched right now. I don't want to be used. Leave me alone. So, it's definitely having an impact, but definitely hitting that maximum amount of muscle hypertrophy on the triceps. But having a good time. How about you?
Good. I just while it's in my head, the thing about you're saying about the burner sets, we need to talk, and you and I need to set this call up to map out what the sort of next phase of the training blocks looks like. But we need to talk about mechanical drop sets because it's something that we did with Helmy whenever he's over here. Actually, as a side note to you, this is me reminding you right now, he's going to come on in not this Monday, but next Monday and do a webinar about the stuff that we went through. So that's a reminder from me to you. So keep 3 able to talk about mechanical drop sets and like biomechanics and things like that. So the mechanical drop sets allow you to essentially work through the strength profile and the strength curve of the muscle. And this is me now reminding myself to put them into your program because I've been doing them this week essentially since I've doing them with shoulders and biceps. This week with my own training on the additional training day that I did that I'm not telling you about when I did shoulders and arms on Wednesday as additional training day. Anyway, things with me are good. It's been a funny week because I feel like because I'm not planning an event, I think I said this last week, like I'm like chill. Like my normal coaching day-to-day job doesn't take up as much time whenever I'm not planning an event. So this week I've just sort of like been recalibrating, like sorting the office out, catching up with everything, planning on the October onboarding, which is Wednesday this week for everybody who's joined the Hacks program, and then just sort of mapping out what the rest of the year looks like. I have put the dates for the what? Sorry.
Oh, I played a video.
It's okay, I didn't hear it.
Oh, good. Okay, my man.
Not everybody knows. So yeah, I did put out the dates for the Phoenix event, and I think from quick calculation before you come on the podcast, not including you because you haven't clicked you're going, but I am assuming you're going. There's already 41 people here interested, so I don't know how the fuck we're going to navigate that one, but I'm excited for it. It's just under 5 months away, and that will definitely be our biggest event yet. But yeah, I think long story short, things are good. Same sort of feeling like you with the calories. Like I feel good in the gym. I feel like heavy is probably the best way to describe it. I'm not going to go down the same rabbit hole that you went to about. I'm not saying it. Nope. But I feel heavy. Like I feel solid is probably the best way that I could feel. Like I feel heavy. I feel strong, and as I said last week, like I'm starting to sort of really find where the weaknesses are with things, like which parts of my body start to break down in certain movements that I need to sort of focus on. But feel good in my clothes. Feel chunky, feel like I'm ready for the winter, feel like I'm like a bird in the hibernation, but overall feeling good. And actually the study that we're going to talk on and the percentages, is quite interesting. I watched it again just before we came on, so it was top of mind, and I've done some calculations using the we had calorie calculator to see how close we are and what's going on.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say really quick is that not everything's perfect. My sleep last week was not great, and I appreciate calling me out on it, which is exactly what I'm going to do when you put in your check-in, which I'm going to call you out on it as well. Keep each other accountable.
My sleep's been really good this week, like really, really good.
Has it been?
Yep.
Okay.
So you'll not be calling me out on
checking yet, a-hole, so I don't know.
Well, just to know, you'll not be calling me out my sleep because it's been awesome this week.
All right. Well, I need to be on my sleep this week, so that's a goal of mine. I'm going to bed early tonight and throughout the weekend, and I'm going to get 15 hours of sleep each day. So, no, just kidding. But these my 6 to 7 hour windows is usually perfect for me. But last night I did not get good sleep. We won't talk about that, but yeah.
Some things left better unsaid.
Some things left better unsaid when it comes to.
So anyway, the segue into what we're going to talk about today. The conversation around how many calories you need to build muscle. Can you build calories at maintenance, or can you build muscle at maintenance? Can you build muscle in a calorie deficit? As always, like I think Dr. Layne Norton absolutely nails the delivery on it. Like it's very easily absorbed. I'll drop the link. Let me write that down. I'll drop the link in the show notes because he talks about it very well. I think the biggest thing that I got from it, I guess, is committing to the goal. And obviously we've spoken about this before. His quote towards the end of it was, if you chase 2 rabbits, you'll catch none. So like if you're going to commit to being in a surplus, understand how long you're going to commit to it for. Even myself, like I know that we said that we're going to do this in April. I'm like, April's so far away. Like what stage am I going to be at come April? But I've committed to it. I know that that's the goal. I know that getting stronger, getting bigger, and ultimately adding body fat is going to be part of that process. So committing to the one goal and stop trying to do too many things at once, and then actually you will at least head in that direction of the goal. But I think that for me was the sort of the reminder to myself again that it was that's what we're trying to achieve and to move forward towards that.
It's interesting because bulking, we don't use the term bulking anymore because it just has such a bad context and name. Because you look at bodybuilders, and bodybuilders, by the way, are essentially their own professional athlete in their own sport, right? So they have complete control over everything they're doing in every aspect. You look at some of the bulking of Jay Cutler. Well, Jay Cutler was eating still whole foods, ass tons of chicken, rice, everything else, right? He was clean essentially as he's doing it, but he put on, 70 pounds of fat, because he can do that. He's a professional when it comes to what he's doing. His mind is locked in. You see folks that are just, they have these massive guts and they have these massive arms and they can't, figure out how to adjust when they need to and course correct. And, what the science is showing now, and that we have a lot of pretty good data on. And what I like about Dr. Layne Norton, first of all, he's a friggin' character, man. This dude gives 2 shits. Like he just goes online and just challenges people. He's like, I don't care about your feelings. This is what the science says, says what, show me the studies, like he's just ruthless when it comes to people and rightfully so. I mean, because there's a lot of, people that just have no effing idea what they're talking about and they just BS their way through things. And Dr. Layne Norton calls them out. And Dr. Layne Norton happens to be probably one of the smartest folks that I've seen from a research perspective. I mean, PhD, focuses on, sports medicine studies and muscle hypertrophy. By the way, the dude deadlifts, over 700 pounds, squats over 600 pounds. I mean, and he's all natural, insane, right? The guy is a freak in nature, absolutely smart and incredible. And his story, if you've ever listened to some of his podcasts, he was an obese kid and picked on heavily, as a kid. So very similar, upbringing to myself. And so I relate a lot to him and kind of what he was able to overcome and the confidence that he had and everything else. And I'd love to get him on the podcast someday because he's just fascinating to listen to. And with him, in this latest study, I think I shot you the message, the YouTube video, and I said, Ben's right again. Because, your methodology around...
That doesn't give me as much satisfaction as you would imagine, just so you know.
Why is that?
Just like, I don't really always want to be like the guy who's always right. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's okay to be wrong. It's good to be affirmed that the things that we're doing are right, but I'm not like,
but you're right in the things that absolutely need to be right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And the things that are most important, because again, I took a big gamble going with you, some random, Belfast dude from that he had 17 women on his page, and to who you are today. But I mean, you knew your stuff inside and out, and everything that you taught me then is still the same today. It hasn't changed. maybe more refined in certain areas. But the biggest thing with the study, and Ben can break down some of the numbers more refinedly, but what it essentially showed is that there wasn't a substantial increase in bone density, lean muscle mass from maintenance to substantial surplus. Meaning that maintenance mode is if you eat all the calories that you need for your body for that day, and you don't go above or below, you will essentially stay the same weight, or you will burn the same amount of calories as your body produces based on thermogenics. And with that specific maintenance mode, what we're trying to look at when it comes to weight gain or weight loss is, can we put you in a surplus, i.e. to gain weight, i.e. to maximize muscle mass, or do we put you in a deficit to lose weight? And, it's possible to gain weight in a deficit, but you have to be really spot on with protein, and you will not gain as much weight in muscle mass in a deficit. And so what the studies really showed was you only need maintenance or a slight, bit of surplus to maximize muscle growth. And there really wasn't a substantial difference between maintenance and, let's just say, 15% of your surplus. So the folks that are doing these massive bulks with, 10,000 calories and just pounding on 10 pounds of, fat a week is doing you no good and a disservice, and making it even harder for you to lose that weight, and taxing your body at the same time, by the way, as you're going through and doing it. So slight surplus equates to much more beneficial gains, both in the ability to shred that down and to get it. And I'll let Ben talk here in a second on the numbers. But the big thing for me, if you look at, we've been in a surplus now for about 2 months.
Yep.
And I still have, clearly visible abs. I'm way fuller and much larger than I was, at 220. So I'm at 220 or 233 right now. I was at 220, 217 technically when I first started this cut. And I look much more massively larger. I'm much fuller, but I still have visible abs and very little additional body fat that has been added. It's been a very slow progress of the body fat, but my muscle strength, my ability to hit new PRs, obviously getting more muscle, because you're not hitting PRs unless you're getting more muscle. It just doesn't magically happen. So I'm adding more muscle. I have a small amount of fat that's being added, but I'm in such a good position because I do have so much muscle mass that I'm burning calories all day long just to maintain what I have and the activity and the lifestyle that I have. So it's very easy for me to just increase slightly and continue to add muscle while only adding just a smidge of body fat. And if we see our weight just staying the same or just a pound, we're in a good spot because we're gaining muscle and we're barely gaining any fat. And that's what that new study just showed and kind of validated kind of that approach and what we're doing.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that one of the studies that he was talking about, I can't remember the exact details, but it was it's like trained males. It was a short study. I think it was only maybe 14 to 21 days, but basically they looked at the percentage strength increase in bench press. And they find that the people who were at maintenance, they had people at maintenance, people at a 5% increase above their maintenance, and people at 15%. The people that made the most progress were the people who were at 5% increase on their maintenance. So it's like sometimes going to 15% or above or like higher is not always better. It doesn't always translate to more strength. And I think that essentially was the point in what he was trying to get across, is like, you don't need to be pounding 5,000 calories just for the sake of 5,000 calories. I used, now for a reminder to everybody, I don't use calorie calculators. There is one on our website, so if you do want to use it, please do it. But I have just put my details and Dave's details in to see how close we are in terms of where we're at with calories and sort of how in tune, I guess, both of us are. The reason that I don't use them is because I go based on the feedback. Like you said, whenever we initially start, like I find the baseline of calories to get, how does your body respond to the calories you're already having, and then just adjust based on you as the person and not using a random calculator on the internet. But for me, so male, 35 years old, 6'2", currently 220 pounds, to maintain weight anywhere between 2,960 calories and 3,160 calories. So for the calories that I'm on at the minute, which is 3,500 calories, that's a 10% increase on what I am at for maintenance. And he said to go anywhere between like 0 and 20%. So the gain weight here that it gives me as a figure is anywhere between 3,335 and 3,535. So you as my coach, absolutely bang on in terms of what's happening with the calories.
Nailed it.
And I have been gaining weight, so I guess I can see look back at my check-in here and I'll tell you right now. So I've been gaining weight pretty consistently over the past couple of weeks since we made that, I guess 2 weeks since we made that adjustment. Probably up about 2 pounds in total. For you, I've put in your details here. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Male, 41, 6'4", 232 pounds.
Yep.
Yeah. So to maintain weight, 3,300 to 3,230. So pretty much banging exactly the same space. And then to gain weight, anywhere between 3,405 and 3,605. So again, 3,500, absolutely banging in the middle. Yours is probably a slightly smaller percentage, which gives us more scope if we do need it. And I know when you're checking this week, weight did come down slightly. So we know that there is the scope to press it, to push it if we do want to. So calculator has, I either say the calculator has worked or I have worked, whichever one you want to take from it.
Well, I think that you have a comfort zone. Like the calculators, I think for folks that are just starting off, and this is a great way to say, well, where should I be at roughly, right? Because everybody's different. People move around more active. People, fidget, which fidgeting, they say can add up to 1,000 calories a day of just burn just by fidgeting alone. So there are different calorie markers based on person, weight, height, age, how active you are, the type of job you have. So they're just a good baseline. What you really want to look at when you're doing this, and especially if you're first starting off, is that, okay, let's just say the calculator says you're at 2,000 calories. Start at 2,000 calories. Are you gaining weight or losing weight, right? Over a span of a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. This is a long process. So, to get this right, takes some time, and it's going to take some time for you to dial it in. But once you kind of get it, it's easy to make adjustments either one way or the other. And so, let's just say you start at 2,000 calories. Are you losing weight? Is that your goal? Well, you should think about losing 1 to 2 pounds if you're heavily obese. Let's just say you're 6'4", like I was, and like 320 pounds. You can expect to lose 5 to 7 pounds a week for a few weeks or several months until you kind of baseline or stabilize, and then you should start to expect much less weight loss. Down to the pound to 3 pounds, and then then again course correcting calories just a few hundred at a time to see do you lose that specific weight.
Well, the thing, sorry to interrupt, the thing that I will want to correct on this is I know that the research or the internet tells you that you can lose between £1 and £2 a week. I prefer to look at it as a percentage, because as you said, if you're 320 pounds, you have got more to lose. So you can lose like 1 to 2%, which obviously is more if you're at 320 versus being at 220. So look at it as percentages, and then it gives you a realistic expectation or a manageable expectation as you come down that's going to be less. And you're not like, well, I was losing £6 a week, 3 months ago. Why I'm not losing that? It's because percentage wise, you're losing the same, but it's a smaller amount.
We talked about this last week too. No, you talked about this last week too. The amount of energy that it requires a 320-pound person versus a 250-pound person is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Think about if you have a backpack, okay, and that backpack is 50 pounds and you're carrying an extra 50 pounds in your back. Well, obviously, that's going to burn more calories than if you didn't have it, right? Your back's going to be sore. You're going to be walking slower. The energy that you have to produce in your muscles just to be able to move that is going to be greater. So you have to look at this from a thermogenics perspective and energy in versus energy out. And at the end of the day, it simply is thermogenics. It is calories in versus calories out. It doesn't matter what diet you're talking about, keto, whatever. What you eat equates to calories, and what you expenditure from a calorie burning perspective is the calories out. So what your body needs to produce, brain activity, general well-being and health, heart, everything is based off of energy and ATP and that chemical conversion of energy and production. So if we're, stacking protein, calories, fats, it doesn't matter what ratio. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't go all fats or carbohydrates or whatever, but, certain diets work for certain people. For Ben and I, we prefer more higher carbohydrate based because of the energy productions and eating strategic meals based off of the energy that we need. And, I have a CGM on right now, a glucose monitor, and, that has helped me time what I eat when I eat. And it's also stopped me from doing my wheat thins late night snacking stuff because of how much it spikes my glucose and how bad my glucose is throughout the night, which impacts my sleep, as well as into the next day. So, strategic eating and how you eat is really important. However, one thing I will say about eating, and this is where people really struggle with the amount of calories, they're like, oh, how do I get 200 grams of protein? Listen, if you start focusing on a protein-centric, rich diet with whole foods, you will hit your markers. No question about it. I can hit.
Can I go on a rant here?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, real quick, before you say that, I want you to go on a rant, but I want to challenge everybody here to eat as much protein as humanly possible, because it will keep you fuller for longer. You'll have a much better fullness throughout the full day, and you're not putting yourself, the more protein, the better. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to cause any issues. It's going to keep you fuller. You're not going to be as hungry. Trust me, protein, everything. If you get 300 grams of protein, effing awesome. You're going to be full. You're going to be hungry. You're not going to want more food. And your body doesn't store protein the same way as it does for fats. So it's not a 1-to-1 conversion. It's like a 20% conversion. So you're not adding fat if you're eating too much protein. So just slam all the protein you possibly can.
Well, I'll caveat that by saying you will find your limit, and your digestive system will tell you pretty much bang on where it is. I remember specifically whenever I used to get coached by Callum, we used to basically have it that I had a protein target per meal. So I had to get 40 grams of protein per meal, 6 meals per day. And then when we were trying to push calories, he was like, right, take that to 50 grams. 40 grams, fine. 50 grams, not fine. So that's my upper limit. Now, the thing that I want to say about protein, I did a post on it on Twitter, and I also ranted within the client group today, because everybody's like, oh yeah, I just have, and I know that you are guilty of this as well, so I'm ranting to you too. I just had 6 protein shakes. I'm like, no, defeating the purpose. So my message within this as I go on this rant is everybody needs to eat more real food. Stop looking for the shortcuts whenever it comes to protein and food. If you look at your food as a whole, 80% of that food should come from something that has either been alive or grown in the ground. If you're a vegan or vegetarian, sorry, but bear with me. 80% of your food should be whole foods, 20% party time. Donuts, like cake, wheat thins, whatever the fuck you want with the 20%, absolutely fine. Take that down or scale that down to whatever your protein target is. So if you have 200 grams of protein, 160 of those grams, whole food sources like chicken, eggs, like things that have either been alive or grown in the ground still. Then the remainder, the 40 grams, can be processed, can be protein shakes or protein bars or Quest protein chips or protein cereal or protein pasta or protein bagels or everything that has the word fucking protein in it is not actually a protein source. Absolutely fine in that smaller 20%. But do not be eating 200 grams of protein from protein bagels, because it's not going to be the one. That's it.
Yeah,
carry on.
I 100% agree. It's a balanced effect. And I also find that if I eat protein with carbohydrates and fats, my body digests things in a much easier format. So for example, if I just eat carbohydrates, I will see my CGM spike up like crazy, my continual glucose monitor spike up like crazy. Whereas if I couple that with protein at first, or I like out here they have Dave's Bagels, which obviously it's an awesome name. So I think I need to start a bagel company.
You mean it's not you?
Dave's Bagels actually has like 15 grams of protein in it, on top of whole grain wheat foods, everything bagel or blueberry bagel, and I love that because I can see my nominal levels of glucose. It'll spike just slightly, but I keep a baseline of energy, and I don't get the crashes with those. Whereas if I eat something like wheat thins, for example, even though it's wheat, I see those massive spikes and drops, as I'm going through and dealing with it. And I've talked about this before, but I have what's called hyperreactive glycemia, which due to bariatric surgery to fix a hiatal hernia issue, again, so I basically don't have a stomach. I had a gastric bypass, and with that, my stomach doesn't signal to my intestines to spike insulin, so it overreacts, and I'll get crashes where I get super sweaty, fidgety, weak as hell. I remember one time trying to lift when I was going through that, and it's just like, nope, I'm done. Like, it's not happening. I got no energy, I got nothing. I got no glucose. It's gone. It's sucked all the glucose out of my blood. And so I'll crash, and I'll just be like super shaky and disoriented and agitated. And I have to, basically eat something really sugary at first, and it's a small amount just to get that glucose back up again. And what I've been able to find is the types of foods that do that and the types of foods that don't. And I also have some medication I've been experimenting with, which is why I was up late last night with gastrointestinal issues. But if
would you say the experiment's going well or not well?
it actually is going really good. It has made a big difference. And what I've noticed with it is that if I'm gonna, let's just say, because one of the things I like doing, and this is again probably another really bad habit, but when I go to the movie theater, I love getting popcorn. I love getting, they have these Starburst minis. And obviously it's all, sugar and garbage and everything, but like, that's kind of my thing. I love it when I go there, and it's kind of like my cheat date. And I don't like using that word cheat date. It fits in with my macros, but it's not something I normally would have, right? It's not something that I would sit there and pound on a regular basis. But I'm there. I get a Diet Coke or whatever, and pound some Starburst. What I've noticed with the it's called acarbose, which there's some good studies on it. It's a type 2 diabetes thing, but what it does is it when your intestines are taking and pulling the sugar into your bloodstream, it limits its ability to do that. So you're not absorbing as much sugar into your bloodstream as you're going and doing it. So I take that pill before I do it, and I've noticed that my baseline spike of glucose doesn't actually spike as much, and it comes down at a normal rate. So it's really helping me out in days that maybe I have a weak spot, or maybe I do want to have a piece of cake or something like that. I can't actually enjoy those, but I try not to make it a habit. But again, this is all balancing myself in one way or the other and understanding what I'm eating. And I can tell you, protein, my rule of thumb is every food that I order comes with a large portion of protein, and I start with protein first, always. And I try to get as much of the protein in. I was actually eating with Boyd yesterday, David Boyd. We went to, yeah, he's in town, and we went for dinner last night. And it's funny because the habits that you instill in others are the same across the board. So Boyd orders the same thing as me. It was this chicken Greek rice bowl, and we both order extra protein. And this thing is a massive pile of food. It's a lot of food, and you can tell Boyd and I are just like picking out the protein as we're going and eating it to try to maximize how much protein we're getting versus slamming the rice or things or anything else that was in there, the bread that comes along with it. And so it's that kind of that rule of thumb of trying to get the protein. And I remember before, when I used to eat, I would go for pastas, whatever. I don't want to burn stuff on pasta. I'm going to feel like crap afterwards. I'm going to feel bloated, unless I need to recover from something. But, I'm getting a steak, I'm getting a chicken, I'm getting a salmon, I'm getting something that's going to be rich in protein, that's going to be full for me. And I feel so much better afterwards after I eat. I'm not sluggish. I'm not tired. I feel recovered and replenished, and I'm not hungry for a long period of time. And that's what we have to focus on. And that deficit surplus piece, is just slight ways in each way. You don't want to go extremes. If you're in a deficit and you're not eating as much calories, you see this all the time, Ben. People are literally starving themselves, and their bodies go into basically, a survival mode where it's shutting down energy production all across the board. The person feels like total shit. They're not losing any weight. They don't want to do anything. They're brain fog. They feel like total ass. It's because they've cut the calories too much. Whereas when you first come in, you're like, I'm increasing your calories. You're going to feel great, and you're still going to lose weight. So it's this slight deficit, slight surplus, and that's all we're playing with in life to get the desired results that we want to. And it's that simple. It's literally just, numbers and thermogenics and understanding your body. And once you understand that, everything else falls in line.
It's just maths and science. It's literally what it is. Like maths, we know is hard, but it's math and science. It's literally numbers. And I think
it's basic, second grade math is what we're dealing with here, right?
All we have to do is take away or add 100 per week. That is literally it. But I think with number one, in terms of pasta, this is where it's good to know what you react or respond well to or don't. I eat a lot of pasta, especially whenever I'm in a surplus, because I just enjoy it. My body reacts pretty well to it. It keeps me, I feel full. I utilize it whenever I'm in training sessions.
Right now.
I utilize it whenever I'm in training sessions on the other side, like the day after. So I do eat a lot of fresh pasta, and more whenever I'm increasing. Good.
Can you tell when I ate my Pop-Tart?
Yes, I can tell very well. But yeah, the other side of it as well is it's not for me as a coach. The thing that I look at time and time again is I don't like to do things in extremes most of the time. So people, whenever they start to feel is like, it's like they go, right, I'm going to cut out all the things that I enjoy. I'm going to run a marathon every single day, and I'm just going to eat 1,000 calories a day and I'll be fine. Whereas if we can find a way that you can do a little bit of cardio, still eat relatively a decent amount of food, which cracks me up whenever people are like, I take your calories from 2,300 to 2,200, and like, oh, I'm hungry. And I'm like, no. You don't understand what it's like to be hungry. But it's doing it on like running the fine margins. So not like loads of output through cardio and steps and training, just a small amount. And then not like super low in terms of calories, and being able to balance that. And that's literally what it is. And I find that that's the way to do it. That is a sustainable way. I have been having conversations recently, and I have sort of I'll always say that there are times that we will push it and we will actively do something that's not sustainable to sort of challenge yourself and see what you can actually do. And I think that that's a good test, but you need to know, number one, how long you're doing it for, and number two, that it is something that's not going to be expected for a long time. But yeah, the long story short, find out what your maintenance calories are and just ride either side of that, plus or minus. Obviously, percentages is probably better. 10 to 15% either side. Find out what your capacity is for a deficit. I prefer, as we know, to do it a little bit more extreme to make it shorter. I'm pretty good at just watching.
When you have that control,
watching food versus actually eating it.
You have that control though, and I do too. So that's why we kind of push it, because we're comfortable with knowing.
It takes time. It takes time to get that.
Years, right?
Yeah.
For me, for years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also like to say, you're also a little bit different from a body type perspective, right? You have always been, lean, right, your whole life, whereas I have always been overweight my whole life, right? So, the ways that we kind of deal with that are slightly different as far as the types of food. Like, you're fine with eating pastas and things, and your body reacts so extremely well to that. Whereas, mine, I've had 40 years of neglect, or 37 years of neglect, and pastas and all this other stuff. I was a vegetarian for Still, 8 years.
Of all the things that I know about you, have found out about you day to day, things that you have done in your entire life, career, everything, that still is the fucking weirdest thing. That is still the thing that has thrown me off the most.
I love animals. I feel like we're the protectors of this world. And
yes, they're delicious.
They are, and I've made up for all of the ones that I didn't eat, but I just love animals. And one of my friends was at talked about, I was in school, talked about what actually happened at these plants. And I was just like, that's it, I'm done. I can't handle it. And so I went 8 years, but it was the most obese I was, right? I mean, I literally was eating pastas and crap, and pizzas. I was unhealthiest that you could possibly imagine being a vegetarian, let alone getting little to no proteins. And it's just, obviously different people have different nutritional things that they respond to. I respond very well, and I'm a fooler, and I can control my hunger. Like, if I'm hungry, I can, grab some protein like a chicken, and I'll be full for the next 4 or 5 hours and feel like I've actually eaten something good that is sustainable for myself and my body. And, it's just finding those things. And you mentioned kind of the different types of things. There's protein chips. By the way, Quest just came out with spicy protein chips. They're amazing.
Yes, they are amazing, but you can't just eat protein chips to hit your protein target.
No, I'm not saying you do, but it's good for a nice snack, nice crunchy,
yes, it is.
Snack. Yeah. But that's all I eat all day long now, so I just eat those.
Just 30,
one night with my issues.
32 packets of Quest protein chips a day.
I have 470 grams of protein and no carbs or fat for the day. So, but everybody responds differently. But that I wish the whole world could understand just the fundamental concept that we covered in this podcast, because it was the missing link that I never had.
Well, this is how we can make that happen. Everybody who's listening right now, send it to somebody who needs to hear about having their protein goal. That's how we'll spread the message, so everybody can have this understanding. Please.
It's that simple, though. I mean, it's taking yourself where you're at today, saying, where do I want to go? And you build a roadmap to get there with just small incremental changes that you can do in your lifestyle. And one of my doctors that I use for longevity and TRT and all that stuff, he has a podcast, or not a podcast, but an Instagram page, and he does like motivational things. And he did one yesterday that
the fat phobic one. Is that the same fat phobic guy?
No, it's not that one. But he did. Oh yeah, that is that one. Yes, okay. It is that one. He did one yesterday. I'll send it to you. But it was something about going to the gym, and that so basically saying, like, everybody thinks that people that go to the gym have all the time in the world. No one has time. We make the time. And if you don't make the time to do things for yourself, you're never going to have time, because you're so busy with everything else. We consume our lives with everything, right? So you have to carve out time for yourself. You have to carve out time to go and actually look at this, do this, and do it for yourself. And you will find the time. And that's what I always loved about what you used to say, Ben, when you have somebody on board, like, you don't argue with them about how much time they have. So, you're like, hey, I only have 20 minutes. Cool. That's all I need. Awesome. Because you know that it's going to be more than 20 minutes, when they start getting into it, right? And they can find the time when they start to actually see some success with this. And there's actually some really good studies that came out recently that just by doing 2 days worth of physical activity, not saying high intensity, just physical activity, reduces your cardiovascular risk by like 47%. Just doing sprints up the stairs twice a day reduces cardiovascular risk by 30%. It's insane. These little small things make big differences, but it's instilling those habits. But if you just take two things, sleep, most important, right? Which I fucked up last week on that. And two, nutrition. And nutrition's such a bad word because there's so many diets and fads and everything. When I see nutrition, slight surplus, slight deficit, and understanding what that means. And you might find that you don't even need to track calories. You get a barometric or barometer of understanding, what you're eating on a regular basis. It's those things I think that are the most important. And then from there, the rest of the things start to fall into line.
Yeah, it's simple as that. I think that it's something that I had to overcome myself, because obviously whenever I used to work in the gym floor, even whenever I started training, I didn't have the same responsibilities or things going on. So I did actually have time. I had all the fucking time in the world. And my sessions were 2.5 to 3 hours long because I would have coached people in the morning, and then people who have normal jobs can't train during the day. So I would have had during the day to train. I would have obviously already been in the gym. So my sessions would have been 2.5 to 3 hours long. And that was fine because at that period of my life, I didn't really have much else going on. A big transition or shift for me is trying to get my head around being okay, right, I have a 90-minute block. I need to get to the gym and get back. I can still get a really good session in. And it's that shift for me is you can still get the work done in a shorter period of time. It doesn't need to be, 2 hours, 3 hours. You can get it done 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it is.
Yep.
But if I do have the time and nothing on the rest of the day, I'll spend the 3 hours because I do enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when I do an hour workout, for example, it's usually one of the best workouts that I do because I am on it. I am all over. I'm drenched in sweat. I'm kicking butt. But then when I take my time, it's 2.5, 3 hours. I do much more volume and I'm much more accomplished with it, but it takes 3 hours, and I'm distracted. I'm doing other things. This morning, where I made, that beast mode sign, there was a little hole in the wall. So I patched it and I painted it while in the middle. I was in the middle of
a maintenance guy in the middle of doing your session.
In my place and moving things, making sure everything's clean.
Getting rid of all the equipment because you're in the yoga studio.
Location I got to clean up. I'm very meticulous in my gym. It's got to be spotless. And my kids know that. They get banned from the gym for a day if they don't put things back the right way. The seats aren't the right way. I'm very, very anal about that. So it's one of those things that I take appreciative, but I'll get distracted as I'm going and working out. But it's always great to go with a friend. I always like going with friends and kind of being there with somebody. I wish I could have worked out with Boyd with all the travel and everything. I didn't have a chance. So, again, these small changes, big difference. Start small with walking or just being more active, push-ups, whatever. It's not to do anything crazy, but I see these folks, starting these massive P90X programs, and I'm going to do it 7 times a week. I mean, you're just overloading yourself with things that aren't going to be successful. And I remember at DerbyCon, a funny story. So I was doing Sean T's Insanity, okay? And it was through Beachbody. And it's actually a really great program, all body weight. You can do it in hotel rooms, which is great. And I was very methodical with it, but I had none of the other things in place. I didn't have my nutrition in place because I didn't understand it. No, I think I was doing keto at the time. And I didn't have the sleep. I didn't have the regimen. I didn't have the understanding that I was doing. And so, I would do all this massive hard ass work, never see any progress or benefits. And I would just end up getting the weight back again. And it's that cycle that I look back and I'm like, damn it. I spent so much effort doing that for literally nothing because I didn't understand what I was doing. And man, I can't explain to you how happy I am obviously with you and what you've been able to accomplish, but that I have full and complete control over every aspect of my life when it comes to losing weight, gaining muscle, best shape I've ever been in my life, blood work, the best it's ever been. I've probably added 10 years onto my life. It's such a monumental impact to myself. I wear tight shirts now. I feel comfortable in muscle shirts and, tight suits and things like that. Skinny jeans,
What about the photo that you posted? First of all, please, anybody who talks, I like the way you just caveat that now by saying, yes, I am on TRT and yes, I did have a hip replacement. Why are you giving me that shit? Can you not just say good job in the fucking comments? Whenever you look at those photos, how does that make you feel?
The reason I post those photos isn't actually for praise or accomplishment. One, it's always to spread, hey, it's possible. Anybody
Yeah.
can come from anything. But it's also um, it's almost like a I have to remind myself I was that bad, because all I see is Dave today, and I love Dave today and how I look and how I feel and how strong I am. And my kids come home and are like, Dad, you're the strongest person in our in our city. And I all the kids talk about how we have this massively muscular dad, and I'm like, that's right. I'm like,
Hell
protect my
yeah!
daughter. Like,
It's like
protect my daughter.
the alpha dad on the alpha,
Right? And so, but I look back at Dave, and I love that guy. He was amazing. He's brilliant, smart, same person I am today, humble, tries to help everybody. But Dave was unhealthy. Dave had heart surgery. Doctor said, Dave, if you don't change things, you're not going to be around for your kids. And at that time, it was selfish of me not to do something for myself and for my kids. Right? It was selfish for me to sit there and continue to eat the way that I did, to continue to live the lifestyle I did, to have the lack of energy to be there for my kids, to coach my kids in basketball, to be active and be a role model for my kids. And my son Gavin, that dude is obsessed with lifting. He is lifting all the time with his buddy. His buddy Colin comes over all the time. They're lifting in our gym. They PR. They write them on the board. They're high fiving each other. They're eating nutritionally. He's always asking me about protein. He's always asking me about things he can do to optimize his strength. And I teach him new exercises once a week just to kind of do things a little bit differently, keep it fun. Like I would never be able to do that and give that gift, to him for his success moving forward in life, as well as my other son, Mason, who's just coming up and starting in that, a little bit younger. Testosterone finally starting to kick in, thank God, which is also a whole other thing of like, they're insane. But, it's one of those things that my lifestyle impacted my family for the better. My lifestyle means I'm going to be here longer for my family. My lifestyle means I'm a better business partner, with my wife and my friends, and then I'm leading better because I'm an example for everybody else. And no one can take that away from me. And it's the time and work that I put into it. And I just look back at that Dave at 2015, right? And there is no way in hell that Dave would look at Dave today and say that's not possible. It's not possible for me to do that because of my genetics or who I am or the lifestyle that I have or how busy I am or what I eat. Like I've already tried everything. I've already tried keto. I've already tried, starving myself. I've already tried P90X. I've already tried insanity. I've already tried this. None of those have worked. I just need to keep getting surgeries to help me out or take a drug to get me to lose the weight or a pill that's going to, increase fat burning. That's where I was at. I would never think I would be where I am today. And it's a gift that you gave me. It's a gift that, the community gives me with the support and, seeing their success. And I get a tear in my eye every time I see somebody that says I changed their lives or we changed their lives, and they're able to lose weight or be able to do what they need to do to live a happy life. I mean, that is a life-changing event that I was a part of that, no one, not many people in this world have that ability to do and have that type of influence over somebody. And it's just an incredible feeling. And it's the best I've ever felt in my entire life. And listen, I'm just getting started, right? Think of me 3 years from now, I'm going to be a fucking monster.
We're going to need a different screen to get us both in, hopefully, or like
double screens
to stand back. But I think, like, yes, okay, while it has impacted the people around you directly, like obviously everybody who has listened, followed on Twitter, become a client, like share in the community, like I think the impact on them, and then the same as you, the impact on their families and like the generations that come after that. Like I don't think we'll ever be able to fathom the impact as a whole of you just making the decision to go and work out with the random fucking guy from Ireland from the internet.
It's awesome, this community, the people, the friends that I've forged with this, and it's good friendships, right? It's not just passing type of friendships. And it's one of those things where if one of the folks from Hacking Your Health that I become close with ever is like, hey, I need you to come help me, I'd fly out in 2 seconds to help them, right? We built that type of camaraderie because that's our tribe. And I have a friend going through some stuff right now, and he personal stuff, and just a lot got dropped on him. And I'm there for him, and he sent me a message the other day, and he's like, I never realized how important my tribe really is. And I'm glad you used the word tribe because it's so true. He's like, once I realized that I have a lot of friends that are in my tribe that care for me, that have the same passions as I do that, are there to help me, and I'm there to help them, my view of things change very, very differently. And I'm able to kind of overcome the challenges that I'm having because, we're designed to be tribes. And the last thing I'll leave it on, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it's amazing how primal and how really rudimentary we are as humans and how we're wired. The things that we do today, are because of millions of years of evolution, right? And they happen to be talking about casinos and why gambling works. Okay. And they've done studies on animals and humans. They actually have a casino that is not open to the public that they test what people can do to get either more addicted to gambling or a better experience for gambling, and how that actually works with human beings and how they're wired. It's like scientific studies on how to get people more trained into gambling, which is horrible. You think about it, it's like paid by like 15 different big companies, and they just literally, pay people to go and gamble all day long and study them, and they change the environment, the lighting, the sounds, and why does that actually make a difference? And one of the things I thought was interesting is that why do we gamble, and why is that rationally happening in our minds? And it's actually pretty easy to explain if you think about it. If we're foraging for food, okay, and we hit a button and we get a piece of food, okay, that's one piece of food, but it's not enough to sustain us forever, is it? Right? It's not. One little piece of food is not going to sustain us forever. But if I keep hitting that over time, I'll get just enough food to sustain me. But our bodies actually crave a lot more than that, right? We can eat as much food as we want to. We want to pack on as much fat so that we can stay alive longer. Our whole body and our mind and everything is designed to keep us alive, to spread our DNA, to make our genetics, pass on to other generations to be successful. So think about gambling. Gambling is the same thing. So, you're wrecking your life with, if it's out of hand, obviously, if it's a problem, with the potential of being set for life, or to be able to have more money than you did before to get you things that you want to. And we're programmed that way because it's easier for us to have an excess of money and not have to worry about money than it is for us to be short on money and not have enough money. So it's the irrational part of our brain saying, I want an unlimited amount of food because then I never have to worry about dying. Or I want, an unlimited amount of money so I can continuously focus on surviving the rest of my life or for my kids. And so it's this irrational part of our brains that is trying to keep us and surviving. And obviously we're taking advantage of that with, social media and dopamine hits and, abusing basically how our system works for immediate results. And one of the things I posted yesterday, which I thought was, very impactful to me, this saying is that, you do things that take a short period of time are usually not very rewarding. Things that have taken you a long time, that have forged you and you've had to work for it over a long period, those are the things that are life sustaining, that your body recognizes and that you're able to accomplish, and is much more satisfying than anything else. These immediate things, getting instant feedback, is not a good way for us to live. We have to look at this from a long-term perspective, and that's how you need to look at your health. This is just a journey. It's a continual. It's the rest of your life, and you just make small changes and you stick with it, and that's all you need to worry about.
Yeah, it's learning. The one thing that I've learned a lot from, obviously, my own journey with training, but Matt specifically, is delayed gratification and things. Like, if you can be okay with delayed gratification, you will be successful in pretty much everything that you do. Mic drop. That's it.
That's it.
Cool. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Thanks for listening. Hey, I appreciate you tuning in for this week's podcast. Catch you again next week. Well, it may not be next week because we have the podcast come through, but
we'll need to do an intro, so we'll talk about something at some point.
Yeah. But thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate all y'all. Deep episode. Share with a friend. This is a very impactful episode about how you can really curb your life, and literally, it's just small math and science. Later.